Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jasoranandana Braja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachariya Yamunatira Vanachariya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Sri Radha Madhava ki Sri Radha Giridhari ki Jai srimadbhagavatam ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajika Jai Jashodhara Shri Maharaj Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajika Jai Jashodhara Shri Maharaj Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Samavira Bhakti ki Jai Go Premanandi all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Does this look like a Brahma Samhita melody? Pretty, it'll fit in there, right? Yeah. So this morning, reading from the 4th canto, 22nd chapter, verse 37. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Vadirayat. Okay. Tatvam Narendra Jagatam Mata Tatusham Cha. Jagatam Mata Dandadam Cha. Nahendriyashu Dishanatmabir Avritanam. Yachitravit Tapataya Hridi Vishvag Avihi. Avi Pratyakakashi Bhagavam Stam Avehi Sosmi. Tatvam Narendra Jagatam Mata Tashtusham Cha. Nahendriyashu Dishanatmabir Avritanam. Yakshitravit Tapataya Hridi Vishvag Avi. Pradyak Chakashi Bhagavan Stamavehi Sosmi. Tatvam Narendra Jagatam Atta Tashtusham Cha. Dehendriyashu Dishanatmabir Avritanam. Yakshitravit Tapataya Hridi Vishvag Avi. Pradyak Chakashti Bhagavan Stamavehi Sosmi. Would like to chant? Tatvam Narendra Jagatam Atatantutam Cha. Dehendriyashu Dishanatma Birabritanam. Yachitravit Tapataya Hridi Vishvagavavi. Pradyakakashi Bhagavan Tamavehi Sosmi.
Chakasi Bhagavan Tamavehi Sosmi. Tatvam Narendra Jagatam Tatastu Shamcha. Dehendriyasu Dishanatma Abhitanam. Yakshitravita Patayavidi Vishvagavi. Patyakshakasti Bhagavan Tamavehi Sosmi. Tatvam Narendra Jagatam Tatastu Shamcha. Dehendriyasu Dishanatma Vedabhitanam. Yakshitravita Patayavidi Vishvagavi. Pratyakshakati Bhagavan Tamavehi Sosmi.
Anyone else? Okay, word for word. Tat. Therefore, Tvam, you, Nara Indra, O best of kings, Jagatam,
Jagatam,
of the moving,
of the moving,
Atta,
Atha,
therefore,
therefore,
Tashtusham,
Tusham,
the immovable,
the immovable,
Cha,
Cha,
also,
also,
Dehe,
Deha,
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 body,
body,
Indriya,
Indriya,
senses,
senses,
Ashu,
Asu,
life air,
life air,
Dishana,
Krishna,
by consideration,
by consideration,
Atmibi,
Atma,
self-realization,
self-realization,
Avritanam,
Avatana,
those who are covered in that way.
those who are covered in that way.
Yaha,
Yaha,
one who,
one who,
Kshetrabit,
take the bit,
knower of the field,
lower of the field,
Tapataya,
Pataya,
by controlling,
control,
Hridi,
Riddhi,
within the heart,
within the heart,
Vishvak,
Vishvak,
everywhere,
everywhere,
Avihi,
Avihi,
manifests,
manifest,
Pratyak,
Pratyak,
in every hair follicle.
in every hair follicle.
Just look at your hair follicles and every one's. This is a little mystery here. We'll have to find out what's going on here. Chakashti,
Chakasti,
shining.
shining,
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan,
the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
the Supreme Personality of God.
Tam, unto him,
To him,
avehi,
Avehi,
try to understand.
try to understand.
Sa asmi,
Saha Asmi,
I am that.
I am that.
Translation. Sanat Kumara advised the king, therefore, my dear King Prithu, try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is living within everyone's heart along with the individual soul in each and every body, either moving or not moving. The individual souls are fully covered by the gross material body and subtle body made of the life air and intelligence. Please repeat. Sanat Kumara advised the king.
Sanat Kumara advised the king,
Therefore, my dear King Prithu,
therefore my dear King Prithu,
try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
who is living within everyone's heart,
who is living within everyone's heart,
along with the individual soul,
along with the individual soul,
in each and every body,
in each and every body,
either moving or not moving.
either moving or not moving.
The individual souls are fully covered by the gross material body
The individual souls are fully covered by the gross material body
and subtle body,
and subtle body,
made of life, air, and
made of
intelligence.
life, air, and intelligence.
So this is a therefore verse. What was the last verse? Who can scroll to that very quickly?
Oh, okay.
There's a therefore.
So that's the long verse. So I read the translation.
Yeah.
We
'Cause-
accept as blessings different states of higher life, distinguishing them from lower states of life. But we should know that such distinctions exist only in relation to the interchange of the modes of material nature. Actually, these states of life have no permanent existence, for all of them will be destroyed by the Supreme Controller.
Okay.
Therefore,
In other words, two worlds, a temporary place. So this is the purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, it is specifically advised that instead of wasting time in the human form of life, endeavoring for economic development and sense gratification, one should try to cultivate spiritual values by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is existing within the individual soul, within everyone's heart. The individual soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature are both sitting within this body which is covered by gross and subtle elements. To understand this is to attain actual spiritual culture. There are two ways of advancing in spiritual culture, by the method of the impersonalist philosophers and by devotional service. Which is the chapter in Bhagavad Gita which Arjuna asks which of these two is better? Yes. That's the 12th chapter. Very beginning of the chapter. Which of these two are the better paths? The impersonalist comes to the conclusion that he and the Supreme Spirit are one, whereas devotees or personalists realize the absolute truth by understanding that because the absolute truth is the supreme predominator and we living entities are predominated, our duty is to serve him. The Vedic injunctions say, Tatvamasi, you are the same, and so hum, I am the same. The impersonalist conception of these mantras is that the Supreme Lord or the Absolute Truth and the living entity are one, but from the devotee's point of view, these mantras assert that both the Supreme Lord and ourselves are of the same quality. Tatvamasi ayam atma brahma. Both the Supreme Lord and the living entity are spirit. Understanding this is self-realization. The human form of life is meant for understanding the Supreme Lord and oneself by spiritual cultivation of knowledge. One should not waste valuable life simply engaged in economic development and sense gratification. In this verse, the word kshetrabit is also important. The word is explained in Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 2nd verse. Idam shariram konteya kshetramiti abadiyate. This body is called kshetra, the field of activities, and the proprietors of the body, the individual soul and the super soul sitting within the body, are both called kshetrabit. But there is a difference between the two kinds of kshetrabit. One kshetrabit, or knower of the body, namely the Paramatma or the super soul, is directing the individual soul. Brahmayan sarvabhutane, right? You know that verse? Mm-hmm. Directing the wanderings. Krishna says he's in the heart of all living entities. We'll come back to that. When we rightly take the direction of the super soul, our life becomes successful. He is directing from within and from without. From within, he is directing as Chaitya Guru, or the spiritual master sitting within the heart. Indirectly, he is also helping the living entity by manifesting himself as the spiritual master outside. In both ways, the Lord is giving directions to the living entity so that he may finish up his material activities and come back home, back to Godhead. The presence of the super soul and the individual soul within the body can be perceived by anyone by the fact that as long as the individual soul and the super soul are both living within the body is always shining and fresh. Does everyone feel shining and fresh? If you don't, you're dead. That explains why you're not really sleeping in class. You're dead, right? So as long as you're shining and fresh, everything's okay. But as soon as the soul and the individual soul give up possession of the gross body, it immediately decomposes. One who is spiritually advanced can thus understand the real difference between the dead body and the living body. In conclusion, one should not waste his time by so-called economic development and sense gratification, but should cultivate spiritual knowledge to understand the super soul and the individual soul and their relationship. In this way, by advancement of knowledge, one can achieve liberation and the ultimate goal of life. It is said that if one takes to the path of liberation, even rejecting his so-called duties in the material world, he is not a loser at all. But a person who does not take to the path of liberation, yet carefully executes economic development and sense gratification, loses everything. Narada's statement before Vyasadeva is appropriate in this connection. Twakta sadharmam charanam bhujam harir bhajana pakpo tat patat yuto yadi yatra kvava badram abudamushyakim kuvarta apto bhajatam swadharmataha. It's in the first canto, 5th chapter, 17th verse. If a person out of sentiment or for some other reason takes to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and in due course of time does not exceed in coming to the ultimate goal of life or falls down due to lack of experience, there is no loss. But for a person who does not take to devotional service yet executes his material duties very nicely, there is no gain. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshulilminitam Ninataismai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Bhanjagapadru Bhashcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Paridanam Bhavani Bhuvashnabi Bhunamo Namaha. So with your good wishes and blessings, I'll try to say a few things. Could you open that door just a little bit? A little fresh air is always good. Okay. Big purport. Okay. This is the big dichotomy right here. Material life and spiritual life. And who else is saying this? Not many people. I mean, very specifically, worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's exclusive to our bhakti line. Even those who are saying the material world is, what is that? Jagat Mithya. The material world is false, one should give it up. Spirituality is real, satyam. But, and actually that's what Prabhupada's describing here. There are two ways of understanding spiritual culture. You have an impersonalist path and a devotional path. You could say both are aiming at the same thing on a very rudimentary level of becoming free from illusion. Right? What is that saying? Ignorance is bliss? What do you think? No. Sure?
Well, if you're in that state of consciousness, if you're in adhikari, right? Is that the highest one?
No, Uttama.
Uttama adhikari, if you're at that level, then it's bliss.
Well, that's not ignorance, that's full knowledge. But there's a saying, ignorance is bliss. In other words, if you don't know, But we say just the opposite. Ignorance is not bliss. It's just ignorance. You're ignoring a situation, right? That person is on a need-to-know basis. But we need to know who we are, where we're coming from, where's real happiness. So to ignore all of these most important questions in life, because, I was just reading, who's reading some article, maybe Back to Godhead or something. There's a point was brought up that, people have this understanding or this idea, actually I think it was Hridayananda Maharaj in one lecture, that it's a very, very popular philosophy today. The very popular thing is that everyone has their own truth. Everyone has their own truth. Don't tell me what the truth is and what I should do. I have my truth, you have your truth. And then we go through life like that. But the problem with that is there's a reality outside of our cranium. And we have to respond to that, right? Just like your truth may be you don't pay your taxes. April 15th is coming pretty soon. But your truth is, I don't want to pay my taxes anymore. And so what's going to happen to you? Is that an intelligent truth to be living? Probably not, right? They have it, yes, the IRS has a truth. So, and many different, or just like one example he gave was our body, a medical truth. You may be suffering from some type of ailment or disease and think, I'm not going to bother with it, taking care of it. Well, gradually, it's going to become so bad that you can't maintain that illusion anymore. Because there is a greater reality that we all have to respond to and we are controlled by. So the idea that I have my truth, you have your truth, and that's like an absolute reality is folly, it's foolishness. There is an absolute reality which is far greater than ourselves. And right, you're ignoring that. Just like the sign, the bridge is out. You don't ignore it. Or just ignoring, forget that, an easy one. The signs on the street, 35 miles per hour, or right, 55 or 65. You ignore that, what's going to happen? Yes. Right. So this is the argument. This is the understanding. So it's such foolishness that I have my truth, you have your truth, and so on. Of course, they say, well, spirituality is different than that. Why? Why is spirituality any different than that? Why isn't spirituality an absolute reality, a truth, a science? Why is it on the spiritual platform it's just wide open? Who said that? Where's that information coming from? What great, how's that backed up by Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu? That's not a guru, maybe guru, but it's not a sadhu and it's not Shastra, right? Someone's guru, but they're not a sadhu, and there's no Shastra to back that up. So the point being made here is this ignorance of what life is supposed to be meant for. We have to understand what the Veda means, knowledge, which is the opposite of ignorance. And the Vedas are explaining that we shouldn't waste our time in the human form of life for an economic development and sense gratification. Now they don't say in the Vedas that there should be no economic development and no sense gratification, but it should be just enough, and use the balance of time for self-realization. So it's not all or nothing. In fact, you have to have these things for human society to go on and for there to be a peaceful society to live in and where you can prosecute your spiritual values. Can you imagine if there was no more money or no food to eat? Or you have to have a balance. There has to be some money, some sense gratification to be peaceful. So that's there, but not to the point where that's everything. And that's today's society. That's everything. Money and sense gratification. And it's like you listen to you can't help it. Well, you can help it actually, but it's all over the place. The politics, everyone's running for office. And all they're promising, if you think about it, all their plans is economic development and sense gratification. That's what you're trying to give everyone, right? The economy and sense gratification. Give this to people, give that to people. But no one's helping anyone. My platform is how to get out of the material world. You're not going to make it to any of the caucuses or nowhere. No one's even going to let you on. CNN's not going to let you on. Fox is not going to let you on. You're out. No one's even going to care. This is not. It's today's society. But that doesn't mean that reality has some shortcomings. Because you'll never be happy by sense gratification and economic development because we're not of this material world. Now, quite a lot of the purport, and I spoke a long time because this clock says it's 10:21 p.m. Thank you for hanging in there with me. We started about 8 o'clock this morning, right? Wow.
14 hours.
Keep going. Should I keep going, Prabhus? Okay, that's interesting. Maybe someone's got to change that.
14 hours.
Okay. About the super soul in the heart. Krishna is so kind. Ishvara Parama Krishna. What was that? Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hriddesha Arjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Atudhani Maya. Krishna is very, very kind. We leave the spiritual world. Just like, did you ever have a really bad argument with someone? And you walk out? I've had it. You ever? Or have that happen to you? Right? Someone gets really, really a big argument. I'm out of here. You just walk out. Or like kids. You ever run away from home? Anyone here ever run away from home? Like that? You run away from Weren't you tell me some story? Your daughter was, and your wife went and gave her a little lunch and said, have a good time. And she lasted like a block or something and came home. And I'm out of here. I don't want to listen to you. How old was she? 4. I'm running away from home. Like that. So, 4 years old. Right. But, mother gives them lunch, sure enough. Go ahead. And like one block comes back. So it's like that. I'm out of here. I'm out of the spiritual world. I've had it with this, Krishna consciousness and serving Krishna and pure devotional service. I'm out of here. What does Krishna do? Say, yeah, good luck. No, Krishna's right there. Boom. Never separated. He comes as a super soul. Never separated. So Krishna's there within the heart, never leaving, just like Ramapati's wife. So I was watching Krishna Mai, making sure like that not she's going to disappear. And I'm sure if she went a little bit further, she could take her by the hand and bring her home. Come on. This is ridiculous. I don't want anything to happen to you. So it's like that. Krishna's in the heart, super soul. Dearmost friend, he doesn't for one moment let us out of his sight. And what is he doing in there? What's he doing in our heart?
He's supervising and sanctioning.
Yeah. And he's always, what is he doing is whatever he can do to try to turn us. One of that's described here in the purport, the spiritual master outside. He manifests himself as the spiritual master outside. So what does that mean? He's there in the heart of the guru, and the guru is giving instruction that we can hear, because we can't hear the super soul. We just can't hear the super soul. We don't have that level of purity to hear super soul. So Krishna is very, very kind. Just like in a family situation, the example is given that sometimes the child won't listen to the parents, but they'll listen to the uncle or aunt. That kind of relationship, okay. Or you go to your grandma or grandfather, and that relative calms you down and talks sense to you. But you won't listen to your parents, right? It's like that. Or just like in an institution or a business or something like that, maybe I don't want to listen to Dharmasetu. The guy's radical, he's a nutcase. I'll listen to Dravida. He's more sober and Krishna conscious, right? Something like that. You'll listen to someone else, but you won't listen to this person. The message is going to be the same, but I'd rather listen to this person. So it's kind of like that. We don't want to listen to the super soul. We can't even listen to the super soul. right? The 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita says about the mind. When the mind is fully controlled, supersoul is reached. In other words, when the mind is in goodness, then you can actually start hearing the supersoul. But until that time, there's someone outside you can hear. And that's the guru. That's the spiritual master. And that's the Shiksha guru, Diksha guru. You're different spiritual masters. And they're saying the same thing. That's the point. They have to say the same thing. They have to say the same thing as the supersoul in the heart. And that's Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, which we just mentioned earlier. They're all saying the same thing. They can't say something different. And that's your checks and balances. They're all the same message. What's that message? Come back home, back to Godhead. What is that? Manmana bhavamad bhakto madjajim namaskru mama vaishasi satcham te pati jani priyosi me. They're saying the same thing. Krishna says, worship me, become my devotee, offer your obeisances to me, you'll come home back to Godhead. The Guru is saying the same thing, the Shastras say the same thing. Like that. Now, Prabhupada points out in the purport here, I don't know why I'm looking at this clock. It's 10:25. Look at that clock over there. About the two paths and these Vedic mantras, Tattvamasi, thou art the same, Soham, I am the same. So the impersonalists use this to say that right there, I'm God. I'm God. But the Vaishnavas know there's two things, quality and quantity. Is a drop of salt water the same as the ocean? Oh, I'll put it this way. In what way is a drop of water the same as the ocean?
In quality.
In quality. Not quantity, though, huh? Right. No, there's a difference, a vast difference, right? So that's a perfect analogy. We are the same in quality, Satchidananda Vigraha, very, very, very minute, but not the same in quantity. Not the same in quantity. So Prabhupada says, understanding this is self-realization. So those who have a different idea, it's not self-realization. It's not self-realization. In fact, it's very, very, it's foolishness and it's offensive. Like that. I'm God. Like that. Okay, and then in this Kshetra bit, I'm going to read a little bit from the Bhagavad Gita at the end of the chapter, before 11 o'clock. Okay? About in the 13th chapter. Because Arjuna asked Krishna some different questions in the beginning of the 13th chapter. And this word Kshetra means the body, and Vit, the knower of the body. And Krishna says, actually, there's two persons inside the body. I mean, two prominent persons. There's actually, you know how many living entities are in our body right now? It's actually a unnerving thought. How many? In one class, Sariputta explains, he gives a number of how many millions of E. coli are in our intestines right now. And every one of those E. coli is a jiva. So, I mean, it's like our body's filled with millions of living entities right now. Can you feel it? No, you can't feel it. They don't even, I was just thinking that example this morning. They don't know we're the person in charge of this body. They're in the same body. They don't know that we're the person in charge, let alone the super soul, but they're there. Right? It's amazing. So just like we can't perceive the super soul, he's in the same body with us. We don't have not a clue. Just like that E. coli hasn't a clue you're there and you're the one controlling everything. So inside this body is unbelievable. There's some millions, not like a half a dozen, but millions of jivas just doing what they're doing. Millions. Unbelievable. But there are two, Atma and Paramatma. They're the principal ones that are controlling the body. And they know the body. Now, how much do we know our body? Not much. If you think about it, we don't know much at all. Can you see the back of your head right now? You don't even know what's going on in the back of your head, right? But Krishna actually knows everything about this body. Past, present, and future. Not just like right now. That's the supreme knower. He knows us, he knows all bodies. That's the difference too. Probably sometimes says that we know our body, the pains and pleasures of our body. Like that. He's like, you comfortable? To an extent you're comfortable, right? But you may not know how much Ramapati is comfortable or uncomfortable. Right? Right? We don't know. But Krishna knows. He knows exactly. Right? Are you enjoying the class? Yeah. Right. But he may be enjoying it more. But you don't know that. Right? But Krishna's in the heart, he knows. He knows all these things. He knows he knows actually Just in this body alone, he knows actually whatever E. coli is thinking right now in your body and experiencing. That's amazing if you think about it. That's the knower. That's what it means, super soul.
I'm glad I don't know that.
But Krishna is a knower in all bodies, so we have to think, oh, we've got all these bodies in our body. And Krishna knows it. And Krishna is directing them through your large and small intestines. Right? And there's other things. So you got blood cells, anything living, there's a soul there. All your little blood corpuscles and all those are jivas. Every cell is a living organism. How many cells make up the body? Your brains. Krishna's in there with that jiva, doing what he's got to do to make it all happen. So that means super soul. Now, do you think we're equal to that person? No way. I was just listening a class yesterday about Bhakti Vidyapurna Maharaj saying, the soul is 1/10,000th the tip of a part of a hair. Now, how can a soul that size take care of a whole universe? 4 billion miles across. How can that happen? It's only because Krishna invests that jiva, he's present as a super soul, invests that jiva with the potencies. It's Krishna's potencies and he kind of loans it to him. Okay, you become Indra, the king of heaven, or Brahma. Because on our own, we're just a tiny little spark of spiritual energy. No way in the world we could take care of all these things. That's Krishna as the Paramatma giving the potency, the knowledge, the awareness, the power to do these things. So the Kshetravit, two things, the soul and the super soul. And actually our understanding is very, 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 very limited. Therefore we have to take guidance on every single level. And that's called humility. It's sometimes you think it's unbelievable that someone could think they're God. They must not know who God is. Like that. Just like if Balaram starts thinking he's the richest man in SanDiego. Right? Poor Balaram. Like that. He's not the richest man. He may not be the richest man in the temple. Right? You may not be the richest man in the ashram. Who knows? Right? But somehow they think, I'm the richest man in SanDiego. Look at me. I have all the wealth in SanDiego. It is mine. Call the men in the white coats. So it's a type of insanity. It's Maya. Maya means insanity. Not this or not that. It's insanity. You're insane. You're saying something which is completely the opposite of reality. So the Vaishnavas are always trying to bring people back to reality. And that's by the instructions and the process of devotional service. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to end here. Can I read a few verses? Just Bhagavad Gita. Let's just read a few verses, 2 or 3 verses from the 13th chapter about the super soul, because we're talking about the super soul. And I think it's very pertinent. Marked it off here. This is the 13th chapter. So Krishna says here, beginning with 13th verse, I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Now the super soul. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything. 15. The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time he is the master of all the modes of material nature. The supreme truth exists outside and inside all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Although the supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge. He is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. That's our friend, the Super Soul. So Krishna's there in the heart, and all kinds of miracles, and He's there. He's fully present. What is that? Who was that devotee? There's a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyways, I don't know the names. You tell me the names. That pastime where the spiritual master, one of the acharyas, that was a Narottam, or one of the spiritual masters, he wanted to hold this big festival for all the Vaishnavas. This is just after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I was just reading it the other day. And it's not the Keturiya, it's a different one. And because the disciple's name was Hridaya Chaitanya. Okay. Because what happened was the Guru went away. And he was asked the disciple to make all these arrangements, and the Guru wasn't coming back. And it's like a week away. And no invitations were sent out. So he took it upon himself to make all these arrangements for the big festival, invite all the different Mahants and Vaishnavas and so on, and arrange the cooking and the bhoga and this and that. Then the Guru shows up, like a day before the festival, and seeing how his disciple had done all this independently, and got all upset and chastised him, and he felt very bad. So the disciple didn't go to the festival. He had his own festival. I mean, it was a special day, so he had his own festival, and many people came and so on. And then the Guru, part of the festival was a big artik and so on. They opened the curtains, and Gaur Nitai were gone, not on the altar. Then they went down to where the disciples having a festival, and guess who's dancing with in that festival? The Gaur Nitai deities off their altar, like that. And the Guru got a stick and said, "Get back on the altar, get back on the altar," like that. And something about, from his heart, Lord Chaitanya manifested himself and stayed with that devotee and so on. Therefore he's called Hridaya Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya is in the heart also. Krishna and all different forms are there within the heart, according to a relationship with the devotee. Lord Nrsingadev is there in the heart, Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, like that. So there's one example where Lord Chaitanya. And seeing this, the Guru just paid his obeisances. It's like, to the disciple, this is amazing how Krishna conscious my disciple is. That the deities left the altar to go to be his festival, to go to his festival. So, any questions or comments? Do you take this one? Is that what you do? You have another one? Okay. Any questions on the Super Soul, or any corrections of what I said, or sense gratification, or I make my own truth, any of those good things we talked about? Yes.
Sorry. The purport ends with this verse from the first canto, 5th chapter.
Yes.
Prabhupada would always quote. And I'm just thinking of this practically, like how, devotees historically, they would join, and many of the devotees who joined in our time are no longer practicing full time. They do some, so they kind of fit into this. They gave up everything, joined the temple, and then for one reason or another, and then they may have found. I mean, I know personally someone who said, now I don't have a skill, I haven't get an education. Now I'm going to scramble to try to just make a living. So they don't feel the reality of this. They feel they did lose something by giving up their swadharma, their life. So how do we understand this verse in that context? Is it just that ultimately they gain because they have some credits in devotional service? Or?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the real gain. Because at the time of death, it's all tested. What degree you have at a university, it's not going to help you. It's not going to comfort you at all at the time of death. It's not that someone who has a master's or a PhD feels better at death than someone who just got a bachelor degree. Or someone who has, $500,000 in the bank. Someone who has 500 million feels better at the time of death. They all feel horrible. It's all being taken away. Every single thing is being taken away, but your spiritual credits are right next to you. And you cash them in. And it helps. You cash it in. You see that people are pious at the time of death. You can see the cash in at that time. And I've heard many different stories. I was telling someone the other day, I've met people who said, these are Indians and they're very pious families, and their mother, the father, very aged and so on. sat down in the morning, did her bhajans and her puja and so on, and just lied down and left her body, or his body. They just knew. It wasn't this whole big thing. It just very, very peacefully just left their body, chanting the holy name, or some had little bhajans, little puja, and they just left. So you cash in, so what's more valuable than that? Because you got to go. And you can't take, I don't know who speaks German here? Anyone speak German? Shivananda, Shivananda Prabhu, he was in Germany, he was in Boston back in the 70s. He would always quote this thing in German, because he was in Germany. He said, there's a saying in Germany, the dead have no pockets. I don't know if it sounds better in German, that's why they say it, but the dead have no pockets. So you can't take anything with you. It's all, you have to say goodbye to it all. And it doesn't help. It does not help one bit. The soul. You may have a better funeral for the body. You got a lot of money, right? Right? We see people sometimes don't have any money at all. It's just right there in the room where they burn the body. And some it's a big hall and 200 people are there, tons of flowers and this, that, and the other thing. And it's a big procession and then dressed so, they look in the coffin. He never looked better, right? All dressed up nicely. They have the, P.R.E. Mohan? P.R.E. Mohan? That's what he was before he was a devotee, a mortician. Yeah, P.R.E. So they have, he looks so good. Dressed so nicely, the tie, and she never looked better, he never looked better, right? Plenty of money, big nice funeral, but how about the soul? They're gone. Where'd you go? And what was your currency for your trip? How far did you get? And where did you go? So what's saying here is any kind of devotional service, it attracts Krishna's attention, and you'll need that. Keep it in your pocket, and then you never lose it. It can never be taken. The stock market crashes. Oh, sorry, Prabhu, your devotional credits are gone. No, your money's gone, but there's nothing that can ever take your devotional currency, your credit. And you're going to need it. You're going to need it, time of death, you'll need it to re-enter the process of devotional service, because you show them at the gate of bhakti, hey, I made it 10%. Oh, come on in at 11%. You start wherever you left off. So I think that's what Narada Muni is referring to here.
Actually, kind of a coda, a little footnote on that. It's actually, the way things play out usually, it's just the opposite. If you're simply, involved, and of course Swadharma involves varnashram, but we get varnashram. If you're just involved in material pursuits all your life, and you happen to be a success, you talk, well, if you have $500 million, it's just the opposite. In other words, what you had to do to get that $500 million is step over a lot of people and, do a lot of bad karma. And so that's the exactly negative assets, as it were, rather than a simple devotee who's just chanting Hare Krishna, and has led an uncomplicated life. So that's really Maya's trick, to think that you're advancing materially, but you're actually going back. You're going down. Hare Krishna.
Isn't that in the third canto? Kapila Dev says something about the money the materialist collects is to purchase his ticket to hell. I think Kapila Dev says something like that. Yes. Question? Comment? Well, any questions? Okay, a comment, and then we can end.
If Krishna, what you're saying about like the person that went in the movement, then left the movement, and went, oh my God, what do I do now? It comes down to, this is my opinion, so we're clear, not the temples. It comes down to Krishna is supplying, not the job. Yeah. If we think that the job is the supply, or the temple is the supply even, or whatever, then we have misplaced our belief in the external and not the internal, which is Krishna is supplying, and Prabhupada said, if Krishna is supplying, why should we be misers? If Krishna is supplying, then let the whole world come, we can feed them. Now, practically speaking, I have moments where I have that consciousness. I have moments where I definitely don't have that consciousness. And I'm grateful for you all, because it helps bring me back to what the principle is. And the principle is that Krishna is supplying in the material world.
Jai. Well, let's end on that very profound point. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.